Hello and welcome to Converge, a new public affairs talk show produced by students from Loyola University Chicago. I'm your host, Patrick Robarczyk. On today's show, we'll tackle the subject of social media and its impact. With over 300 million active Twitter and Instagram accounts and 1 billion Facebook users, social media is an integral part of the way that we communicate today. First, we'll explore digital identity with scholar and researcher Jenny Korn. She'll explain how we craft our online persona and find our internet communities. Next, we'll find out how you can have a career using your social media skills. We'll spend a day in the life with Akeem Lawinson, online producer of the Red Eye newspaper. We'll give you an inside look at how he crafts messages that shape the identity of his company.
What motivates people to get on these websites, and why do they send the messages they do?
And are you single and looking? Dating in the digital age has put a new spin, or should I say swipe, into how we connect. Adventures in online dating are the subject of Second City's new show, #DateMe. Playwright Robin Lynn Norris shares what she learned about online dating profiles and how dating apps affect the way we meet. But first, let's hear how you use social media and get your take on how it affects you.
Okay, I do use social media. I have Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and a Facebook. I just got a Facebook literally yesterday.
How many accounts? I have Instagram, I have the Twitter, the Facebook, the Tumblr, the Pinterest. I think I have the whole lot, quite honestly.
I would say I have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I don't have a Twitter, but I use Snapchat like frequently. I'll check like every hour.
During our show, we will hear from Loyola students and what you have to say about social media and its influence. Today's show will also reveal how our digital identity can impact how we are perceived simply based on what we tweet, post, and share. Converge correspondent Betsy Moline sat down with an Ivy League scholar who studies online identity.
Here's a fun fact for you. If Facebook were a country, it would have the third largest population in the world, with over 1.25 billion users. Social media sites are important international communication resources. Twitter has more than 300 million active users, Instagram over 400 million. Many people are making the study of social media their business. One of those people is scholar Jenny Korn. Jenny studied at Harvard, Northwestern, and Princeton before coming to the University of Illinois in Chicago in 2011. While there, she has become a leader in the study of race, gender, and online identity. Hi Jenny, how are you?
Good.
We all know what it means to have an identity, a way that we define ourselves, but how does it compare to our online representations?
Well, first I think we should identify and define what it is to have an online identity. To have an online identity is to be who you are online. That includes our decisions about where we want to spend our time and also where we don't. So folk that decide to go on online social media sites and people who actually rebel and decide not to go on them at all. The divide between offline and online is actually more narrow than people might think.
So what would you say narrows that divide?
We import our subjectivities, our experiences, our biases from our offline world into our online world. So, for example, the way that we congregate online reflects often how we congregate offline.
What are those communities based on?
We tend to create silos of belief, meaning that we go to the same places where other people share the same values. So, for example, if you tend to lean conservative politically, you will more than likely attract and have a community that also shares those conservative values.
Kids are kind of told the horror stories like, don't put that on Facebook because like your future boss will see it. What do you think is the truth of that, of like employers looking to a digital media presence when trying to hire their next person?
I think there's a lot of truth in that. People want to see who you are online. They want to see if you have a website. They want to see if you are on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. LinkedIn probably still being the #1 online social network site for professional networking. So I do think that it is important to have presences there.
Do you have any tips on creating like a strong digital presence that's also positive for students looking to like get employed?
Yeah. So again, it goes back to authenticity. I would encourage everyone to be themselves online as they are offline.
So do you think that the presence of online communities is making society as a whole come together or pulling us apart?
the internet and online communities reflect, again, what we want them to. So if we decide to use the internet to find community and build community, then that's what it's going to be used for.
So here at Loyola, professors have Twitter pages, Facebook. Do you think that students having such personal connections to both professors and their school is good for building community on campus?
I do think it's a good thing, but again, it goes back to individual comfort level. So how comfortable are students interacting with the professors in such a personal way? And also from the scholar point of view, how much of a boundary should professors have with their students? And that's actually a question that every individual professor has to answer him or herself.
I'd like to thank identity scholar Jenny Korn for being here today. Thanks so much, Jenny.
Thanks for having me.
Joining me now is Betsy Moline. Jenny talked a little bit about Loyola faculty and professors using social media to correspond, reach out to their students. As a student here, what's your experience with that?
I've personally followed a couple of my professors on Twitter and used Facebook and other social medias to keep track of just classes and things of that nature, and I think it's a great thing. I think it's really good to be able to reach out to your professors in a more personal way.
Jenny also touched on a conversation that a lot of us are having about social media and its effect on our socialization. Is it pulling us apart? Is it bringing us together? And she had a little bit different take. It was optimistic.
Yeah, I think it was really refreshing to hear a view that was thinking that social media actually is bringing society together as a whole. And I think that if used in the correct way, that's definitely what it can do.
Thank you, Betsy. Up next, Converge correspondent Elise Haas spends a day in the life with a Snapchat artist who makes all the news that's fit to print and paint.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to make a living using Snapchat? I'm at the Tribune Towers to meet Akeem Lawinson, a local artist who caught the attention of the Red Eye newspaper, and he's now their online producer.
I live, eat, and breathe Snapchat. I pretty much help maintain our social media presence on both Facebook and Twitter. Also helping build up our presence on Snapchat. It's actually one of the primary reasons I was hired because of my prowess on Snapchat. And we're currently also trying to build out a podcast wing to the Red Eye. We have a young audience. Our audience is roughly 18 to 34. That's our demographic. Those are the people that we're looking at with the content that we're always putting out. And so what we're doing on Snapchat that I don't see a lot of news outlets doing on Snapchat is we're actually utilizing a Snapchat artist, and that's me. And since Snapchat is still such a young and foreign platform for brands in general, people like myself, people that are influencers on the platform, are the ones that kind of like curate what would work on the platform. I draw like a lot of different cartoon characters from the 90s as well, like Doug, Angry Beavers. So I take those elements that I put into my own personal account and I kind of merge it with Red Eye's brand. So now Red Eye is kind of known for creating these intricate drawings on their brand. This is something that the Red Eye is looking for. They're looking to capitalize on the Snapchat audience. They're looking to build out a podcast. They're looking to further their YouTube presence. So we have to be ahead of the curve. I know how to craft a story, and I've been drawing since I was a kid, so I'm known for drawing. So if you go on our Snapchat account, I might draw like Ren and Stimpy on one of our Red Eye boxes. And this is something I'm doing all on my phone. But it's like crafting these stories through the vivid imagery and through all the things that I'm able to do with my hands. I think it's really fun. It's really different because it's not just video related. You know, we create vivid imagery for our audience to absorb. So we give you the news that you need. We do it in a fun way though.
Elise, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So Akeem talked about using his art as part of his Snapchat and promoting the Red Eye. How have audiences responded to this new form of communication that he's putting out there?
It's been really great for Akeem. He's really gathered a large following, and people are now sending in photos of themselves so that way he can paint on them and draw on them. And he's also, gotten lots of requests and just different characters to draw. So it's really been a great conversation for him to have with his viewers.
And I think it's great that he's telling students to get out there and create their own content, mark their territory, and show who they are as artists and communicators.
He felt very strongly about that, actually, and he talked about how, he worked really hard to do what he's doing, and it's Snapchat art. And most people, they might not recognize that right away. And he said, keep working at whatever you love, because even if someone doesn't recognize it, even if you don't get paid right away, someday someone will recognize that, and you're going to be able to do your passion, and it will become your career.
That's great. Thank you, Elise.
You're welcome.
Coming up, find out why a Second City playwright created 38 fake online dating profiles. But first, let's check in with Converge correspondent Blake Keller as he asks you, does social media make us antisocial?
I disagree. I would say the opposite is making us more social, because now we can communicate easier with people further away or with larger audiences.
So you just need to find a good balance, because if you're too addicted to it, obviously you become antisocial, like not present with what's happening with you.
It really does help out with conversation. Sure, it does eliminate some certain conversations, but it does open up new ones.
I'm Grace Runkle for Converge here at Second City in Chicago. I'm going to talk with Robin Lynn Norris, the creator of #DateMe, an OkCupid experiment. Her comedy show deals with dating websites and online identities. Let's check it out.
Meet Tracy Loves Cats, 36, straight, single, Los Angeles, California.
I love kitties! If you don't love kitties, then you won't love me. Beep, boop, beep, bop.
Okay, so you created #DateMe, and when most people create dating profiles online, they want to put out the best version of themselves possible, but you kind of took a totally different take on that.
Yeah, well, the idea was actually just a complete accident. A friend of mine called me one day, and she had just set up a profile on OkCupid, and she wanted advice, like, hey, do I look weird? Did I say anything weird? And I was kind of slightly offended, because I've never done online dating. I was a little snobby about it. I was like, well, I don't have a profile. So I was like, well, I'm going to use this fake email address. I'm not going to put myself out there. And I made this crazy cat lady. It was just one note, like, Tracy loves cats, and every question I answered in all caps, like, I love kitties, and on a typical Friday night, I eat chocolate and play with my kitties. A couple days later, some of my girlfriends and I logged back on, and I was like, oh my God, there are hundreds of responses to this cat lady, and they were really funny.
Meow, meow, purr, nap, ball of string, beep, boop, beep, bop.
Hello, my feline friend.
Meow.
Oh, purr, meow.
Meow.
And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm single, and I'm not that crazy, but I don't get that much attention. And so that kind of sparked the idea of, like, wait a minute, online, like, can you be undateable? So then we started creating profiles we thought were undateable.
What were the results of your big experiment? Did you find out, is there really such thing as an undateable person?
Not really, and I think that's the really cool thing. I really thought at first it was just all these lewd messages from guys, and you're like, okay, well, this is what it is. But honestly, almost all of our profiles got responses.
How do you think these social media sites, Tinder, OkCupid, things like that, how do you think they've changed the way we date and find relationships?
A lot, and also not a lot, because if you connect with someone, you connect with someone. They basically have taken the old school way of meeting someone in a bar and allowed you to get more specific with it, but you still eventually have to meet in person.
I love that you said beep, boop, beep, bop. I say that a lot. That and meet me. Well, let me know if I'm your type, or you find me attractive, or both, or neither.
But I do think it's really wonderful for people who are looking for something very specific. Maybe you are, like, in a small town and you're really interested in somebody and you can't find that type of person. Everybody has all kinds of preferences, fetishes, whatever it is. You can put yourself out there and ideally meet someone who's not going to judge you, whereas if you were just out in your small town, you can't really go up to someone and say, hey, I'm really into this thing, are you? And so I think it opens it up in a really wonderful way.
Thank you, Robin. #DateMe and OkCupid experiment will be playing here at Second City through November 14th.
Hashtag hilarious.
Wasn't
Grace,
she so funny?
This show sounds so fun.
Right.
So Second City is not too far from our Water Tower campus. How can students get there?
Right, it's right off the Sedgwick Brown Line stop. You just get off there and you go 2 blocks east and you'll have no trouble finding it.
And ticket availability, prices, good times to go?
So tickets can range between $26 and $41. That depends on where you want to sit, what day you go. For the cheaper tickets, go on a Thursday or a Sunday night.
Sounds great. Hope we can all get out there and see it.
Me too.
Thank you, Grace. Coming up, join us for an in-studio conversation about social media. What our guests have to say will surprise you. But first, let's take a look at the lives of 2 students who stand on opposite sides of the social media spectrum.
I think my day looks pretty much like everybody else's. I'm just not on the internet as much.
Most likely I'm headed to class where I will probably be sitting on Twitter through that entire time, or Facebook or Tumblr or Instagram.
But day to day, I think I'm pretty much going through the motions like anyone else.
Come back and do my homework and usually social media. Pretty much till I go to bed.
Well, I did have a social media account for like 4 years in high school. I was on social media, so I know what it's like to be on.
At least 7 on Twitter. I think I own 5 business pages on Facebook, my personal Facebook.
I decided to cut Twitter out, and soon after that, I deleted my Facebook and my Snapchat.
3 Instagrams, 3 Tumblrs, 2 Pinterests, and a couple of blogs.
It just feels really impersonal and really anonymous to me, or if you can look in someone's eyes and hear their tone of voice, it's just a lot more fulfilling for me.
I think for me, it's something that I really enjoy, so it's something I want to do when I graduate, and it's a future career for me.
So I get a lot of whys or kind of a little bit of disbelief.
They usually ask me if I'm crazy. People usually ask me, how do I do it and why do I do it? They're like, oh, you're just obsessed with Twitter, like you're just a fangirl, aren't you?
I think don't be afraid to go social media free if that's something that you want to do. It hasn't impacted my ability to make friends or socialize at all.
Everyone needs at least one channel where they're like in tune with what's happening outside of just their room or outside their apartment.
Joining me now to continue our discussion on social media are 3 guests who have all had a unique experience online. Loyola student Caitlin Anderson, social media manager for ABC7 Chicago Nathan Bobinchek, and transit reporter for the Red Eye newspaper, Ryan Cole. Thank you all for being here today. Caitlin, we'll start with you. You consider yourself to be an active user of social media.
I do.
How many active accounts do you have right now?
Probably 4.
And how often would you say you're on social media during the day?
Like every day, all day.
Every day, all
Yes.
day? 24/7?
Yes, well basically
Unless
yes.
you're sleeping?
Yes, exactly.
So you had an interesting story, you had an interesting experience with something that you posted online. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my senior year of high school, I actually got a ticket. It was very minor. I just forgot to turn on my headlights. I got a ticket, and I guess I went without paying it. So I went into my freshman year of college, and I got an email from my local police officer. We're really good friends, and he's like, hey, Caitlin, I'm just letting you know, you have a warrant out for your arrest. Call me, we'll just talk about this. And I was like, what the heck? And so I called him, and he was like, oh my gosh, it's not a big deal at all. You just need to pay it. It's totally fine. And then so I tweeted a screenshot of it. I was like, this is so funny. Look at this. And then someone approached me from TFM, which is Total Frat Move. He's a writer for Total Frat Move, and he was like, hey, this is really interesting. We want to write about it. And I was like, yeah, you can write about it, but don't include my name, where I go to school, my Twitter handle, any of that. And so the next day, I look at the article. It was my Twitter handle, where I went to school, my age. He made it sound like I was I was an alcoholic, and I got in trouble for being something just totally irrational. And it was just it's the first thing you search on Google, it'll come up. It was just totally twisted, and I had to make all my social media accounts private. It totally impacted my social media and my view on it.
How has that changed what you share now?
So I made everything private, and I don't share anything private. I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore, because something that I said out of confidence or thinking was funny just got completely twisted. I just am totally cautious with what I share now because of something that completely kind of ruined my life.
I don't blame
Yeah.
you at all. I don't blame
Yeah.
you at all. This is a good lesson for
Yeah.
students who like to share a lot of things about their lives online.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll give us a pause and rethink about what we're
Definitely.
sharing. Nathan, let's talk to you a little bit about, so we have students who will be entering the job market in the not too distant future. Some are actively seeking jobs right now. What would your advice be to students who are getting into that area of their lives, and how can they shape their online identities to put themselves out there in a professional way?
It's good to have an identity, but it's also good to not overshare. You can, it's depending on who's hiring you, it can matter more or less, and depending on the job you're applying for, it can matter more or less what's on your accounts. But you have a voice, and it's important to manage your voice and make sure that it is someone who appears professional and hireable.
So Nathan, you're an alum of Loyola, and Ryan, you are as well, correct?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to students? You are a recent graduate, working professional now. What advice would you have, sort of piggybacking on what Nathan was talking about?
Yeah, definitely having some kind of online presence is definitely detrimental to when you're getting into the job market. I know when I was a social media manager for Red Eye and they were hiring me for that job, they looked at how many followers I had on my Twitter account and the types of stuff that I was posting on Facebook, because they wanted to see whether I could manage, Twitter and Facebook. They wanted to know if I could manage social media accounts. And so it's definitely good to have a presence, but also, keeping your private information private. And even going as far as maybe changing your personal account to maybe your first and middle name, and then starting a new Facebook account where you have, your full first and last name that can be searched on Google when an employer is looking to search you. And you put more professional things up on that Facebook, or doing the same for a Twitter account, kind of having a more professional Twitter account and kind of retweeting, news brands and different kinds of more professional things on your Twitter, rather than, the funny memes and GIFs and stuff from some other kinds of users and stuff. So that would be my advice.
Okay. Caitlin, are you seeing that you're possibly going to be separating things out now as you move into, you're a junior, you'll be looking for jobs in the near future, right? Do you think you'll be
definitely
splitting things a little bit?
Yeah, I've never posted anything inappropriate. I always try to keep it very professional, but in the sense of me posting things that come across as making me look like someone I'm not, or like someone worse than I really am in reality. I think it was my problem with me posting that picture. It made me seem like someone I'm just completely not. And so I think I definitely need to be more cautious and more aware of what I'm tweeting and not retweeting silly things and being more professional.
So you're a frequent user of social
Yeah.
media. We have a student in the audience who does not use social media all that much. Matt, we talked a little bit before the show. You said that you do have social media. Do you have any active accounts right now on social media?
I have one active account on Facebook, and I do have other accounts for other social media, but they have not been used, I think, in a year. So.
And do you ever go back and visit them, or do you?
I do once in a while. So maybe every 6 months, if there's an overwhelming amount of notifications, it's oh, I feel popular, I should go on there and see. And so you'll go and you'll check it out. But I think being from looking at it from a long view and the big picture, it doesn't feel that significant. I think that the one social media I do use is Facebook, and that I tend to see there are bigger events. So if someone gets married or someone gets a job, you'll tend to see it on there, and those are generally the things that I personally care about. And then if I go on Twitter or Instagram, it's oh, I got Starbucks this morning. It's great, I did too. So, and it's not, it's not information that I necessarily value. So I just try to kind of limit that scope.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks so much.
Of course.
So Nathan, what careers are out there for students who are looking to use their social media skills? It sounds like it's a field that's expanding. A lot of companies are adding these types of positions to their roster. Do you agree with that? And
yeah, it's constantly evolving. So there are some positions like mine which focus primarily on social media, others that just include it as kind of a rider on. So there are some jobs where you write and then you also have to do social media, or you do marketing and also social media. But I think we're going to see it expand in the future. One of the reasons that we focus on it at ABC7 is that we want to talk to people where they are. You know, we are a TV station, but not everyone is watching TV. It's kind of especially younger. So we are trying to reach people, you know, in the space that they're already in. And I think that more and more companies are going to see that as beneficial to them. You know, you can't advertise on billboards if people aren't driving, but you know, they're right there in looking at their phones, so they're gonna need a bigger presence.
Right. Ryan, we met Akeem Lawson earlier in one of our pieces, and he sort of created a position using his talents and his skills before he got into the job. And that's really amazing that he sort of created something, took a position that was there, but then made it his own. Do you see this happening?
Yeah, no, Akeem is such a wonderful artist, and he kind of used his skills that he learned and was already like crafting and getting into these different markets. So he originally came to Red Eye as our Snapchat artist, and he would, you know, had been like, I'm gonna grow our Snapchat following for Red Eye, and like I know how to do it, and like these are things that I've been doing, and I'm already like in this media market right now. And he kind of sold himself to Red Eye and was like, I can build your brand. He did it before he went into the job market. Like, he was building a portfolio before he went to apply for a job, so he could really be like, hey, you know what, this is what I can offer you. I'm in it, I know how to do it, and I can prove that I know how to do it by like this example right here. And I mean, and he got hired almost immediately on the spot, so.
That's great.
Yeah, he's
That's
wonderful.
Great. It's very exciting to know that those opportunities are out there. Do you think that people are putting out, in your sense and what you see on social media, and the people that you know, are they putting out their authentic selves, or do you see it as people using it as a way to sort of fit in and find a community to fit into? Caitlin?
In a sense, like, as much as we try to be authentic, I think there's just a large gap where it just can't happen, because in today's age, like, it's just not really plausible.
There's still
like,
some anonymity
it's just
to it.
like, yeah, I just think that because digital is like all around us, like media, social media is like such an inherent part of our society that we've just become so accustomed to posting something and without thinking about it. And so in that sense, I think it's like we have two different, like, you have a social media persona and then you have your real persona. And so I think there is a very large gap in the reality of both of them.
Sure.
Personally.
Nathan, thoughts on that?
I think there are three different types of people on social media. One who is trying to be very guarded. Another who's trying to take advantage of social media in terms of like art or expression. There's a lot of people that I see that are really trying to craft something unique out of it. It kind of sounds like the Snapchat that you're talking about. And then the third who just don't think very hard about it. And I think they probably come off the most authentic because they're not putting a lot of brain power behind it. Not in a bad way, but they're not trying to craft, you know, a persona. I think it's interesting to see how people come off, but not necessarily a bad thing if they are aiming one way or the other.
And Ryan?
You know, you don't really know somebody until you meet them in person, I think. And you know, it's really, it's weird to know that there's people that might hire you just based on what they see online, not knowing you at all, because I definitely think that there is like a gap between kind of what you're posting and like who you really are. You kind of have like an alter ego going on online versus who you are in person, because it's really hard because you want to be guarded, but you also, you know, want to show your true self online, but you also have to try to stay professional, and there's definitely those balancing on those different lines. Kind of, I think you miss something in the middle.
Exactly. Well, Caitlin, Nathan, Ryan, thank you for a great conversation today. We appreciate your time so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks.
Now it's your turn to join in the conversation. Visit our Facebook page, Converge LUC, or send us a tweet to Converge LUC Talk and give us comments or feedback. I would like to thank all of our guests, our studio audience, and all of you watching the show online, and an extra special thanks to our entire Converge team of producers, writers, and correspondents. I'm Patrick Rybarczyk, and we'll see you again the next time we converge.